Stop lying to yourself. Your dream life isn't taking time, it's not delayed. It's not waiting for a sign, it's dying. Every day you wake up and repeat the same habits, you're voting for the same future, and then acting surprised when nothing changes. That dream you keep thinking about, someone else is already living it, because they stopped negotiating with comfort. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. If your dream hasn't happened yet, it's because quitting is still easy for you. You still give yourself exits. You still give yourself excuses. You still believe you can try later. And as long as failure feels safe, success will never feel real. The moment you make quitting painful, the moment your daily actions leave you no escape, your dream life stops being optional. It becomes inevitable, not because you're special, but because you finally removed the choice to fail. Watch closely. This isn't motivation. This is a warning. Let's get something straight. Your dream life is not missing. It's not hiding. It's not confused about you. It's rejecting you. Because every single day, you're proving to reality that you don't actually want it bad enough. You say you want freedom, but you design your days around comfort. You say you want success, but your habits scream safety. And reality doesn't listen to words, it listens to behavior. Here's the brutal truth most people never face. Your current life is the result of what you tolerate, the procrastination you excuse, the distractions you protect, the discipline you delay. That's why nothing changes. People love to blame timing, they love to blame luck, they love to blame the system. But deep down, they know the truth. They're still choosing the easier option. And as long as quitting feels comfortable, your dream life will never take you seriously. Look around. Your bank balance, your confidence, your position in life, none of it is random. It's the exact level your daily standards allow. The people who win aren't more talented than you. They're just more ruthless with themselves. They stopped asking, "Do I feel like it today?" They replaced feelings with rules. Rules don't care if you're tired. Rules don't care if you're scared. Rules don't care if nobody believes in you. And once you live by rules instead of moods, your dream life stops being a fantasy. It becomes a system. Here's the shift nobody talks about. Dreams don't become real. When you finally feel confident, they become real. When failure stops being an option, most people keep an emergency exit in their life, a backup plan, an excuse, a reason to quit when it gets uncomfortable. And that safety net is exactly why they never jump. But the moment you remove the exit, something dangerous happens. Your brain adapts. When quitting is no longer available, you stop overthinking, you stop doubting, you stop waiting for motivation, you execute. This is where most people break. Because alignment hurts. It hurts to wake up early when nobody's watching. It hurts to stay consistent when results are silent. It hurts to act like the person you want to become before you see proof. But that pain is the price of inevitability. When your identity, habits, and environment line up, reality has no choice but to respond. You don't need to believe anymore. You don't need hype. You don't need inspiration. Momentum replaces motivation. Days stack, weeks compound, your self-image changes. And once your self-image changes, your old life becomes impossible to return to. That's the point of no return. That's when people call it luck. That's when they say you blew up overnight. They didn't see the days where quitting was easier, but you didn't take it. That's when your dream life stops being a goal. It becomes unavoidable. This is where most people get uncomfortable. Because this rule kills excuses. It kills motivation addiction. It kills fake positivity. Here it is. You must build your life so that doing the wrong thing feels harder than doing the right thing. Read that again. Most people rely on willpower. That's why they lose. Willpower dies when you're tired. Willpower dies when life hits. Willpower dies when nobody's watching. Winners don't rely on willpower. They rely on systems. They remove distractions instead of resisting them. They schedule discipline instead of hoping for it. They design their environment to punish laziness. If your phone controls you, you'll never control your future. If your comfort is always available, discipline will always be optional. That's why reality doesn't move for you. Reality responds to pressure, not wishes. The day you lock in one non-negotiable daily action, something small but painful, something that moves you forward no matter what, your identity starts cracking. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You become someone who executes, and once that identity forms, your dream life has no escape route. Reality doesn't care how you feel. It only reacts to what you repeat. Make progress unavoidable, and success will follow whether you believe in it or not. This part hurts, because it's where almost everyone fails. Right before things change, life gets quiet, no validation, no praise, no results. This is the danger zone. Most people mistake silence for failure. They think, it's not working. I should stop. Maybe this isn't for me. But here's the truth. The gap between effort and results is where identity is tested. Reality always delays rewards to see if you're serious. Anyone can work when results are loud. Only killers work when results are invisible. This is where your old self fights back. It whispers comfort. It reminds you of easier options. It tells you to slow down. And if you listen, you reset the clock. That's why most people stay average forever. They quit during the invisible phase, but if you push past it, if you stay consistent when nothing makes sense, momentum flips, opportunities show up, confidence spikes, people notice, and suddenly it looks like magic. But it's not. It's delayed consequence. What you did in silence finally speaks. And once that happens, your dream life doesn't need motivation anymore. It runs on momentum. This is the part nobody prepares you for, because building your dream life is hard. But keeping it is harder. Most people don't fail at success. They fail at staying successful. They grind. They sacrifice. They push through pain. They finally break through. And then, they slowly slide back into the person they used to be. Not because they wanted to, but because they never locked the identity. See, your biggest enemy is laziness. It isn't fear. It isn't even distraction. Your biggest enemy is your old self, waiting patiently for you to relax. The old habits, the old excuses, the old comfort patterns, they don't disappear, they go quiet. And the moment you stop being intentional, they take control again. That's why this section matters more than everything before it. Because this is where dreams stop being achieved and start being protected. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your identity. Read that again. Goals are temporary. Identity is permanent. You can force discipline for a few months. You can grind for a year. You can suffer through a phase. But if your identity stays the same, you will always return to your baseline. That's why people sabotage themselves right after success. They get uncomfortable. Success feels unfamiliar. Consistency feels heavy. Growth feels lonely. So they unconsciously destroy what they built, just to feel normal again. Normal is dangerous. Normal is average. Normal is broke. Normal is invisible. If you want your dream life to stay inevitable, you must redefine what normal means to you. This is the core shift. The people who never fall back don't rely on motivation. They rely on non-negotiables. They don't wake up asking, "Do I feel like it today?" They wake up knowing, "This is who I am." They don't argue with themselves. They don't justify skipping. They don't romanticize rest. They execute, and execution rewires identity. When you repeatedly do hard things without debate, your brain stops questioning. Action becomes automatic. Discipline becomes default. Progress becomes normal. This is where freedom actually comes from, not from doing whatever you want, but from becoming someone who doesn't want to quit. Here's a harsh reality: if your environment stays weak, your discipline will eventually fail. You cannot outwork an environment designed to make you comfortable. That's why people relapse. That's why people fall off. That's why people disappear. Their surroundings pull them back. The phone, the people, the routine, the easy dopamine. If everything around you encourages comfort, your dream life will always feel heavy. So, winners do something most people won't. They remove options. They cut access to distractions. They distance themselves from low standards. They design days that punish laziness. Not because they're extreme, but because they're serious. Your environment should make progress easier and regression painful. Anything else is self-sabotage. At some point, you must cross a line where going back feels impossible. This is the point of no return, not emotionally, structurally. When your habits, schedule, reputation, and self-image are all tied to who you're becoming, when quitting would destroy not just your progress, but your identity. This is why public commitment works. This is why consistency compounds. This is why standards must rise. You don't rely on motivation anymore. You rely on who you've proven yourself to be. And proof is powerful. Your brain doesn't argue with evidence. Let's clear something up. If this feels uncomfortable, that's not a sign something is wrong. That's the price. Growth without discomfort doesn't exist. Transformation without pain is a lie. Every level demands a new version of you, and the old version always resists. That resistance is not weakness, it's death. The death of who you were. Most people run from that moment. That's why they stay stuck. But if you stay, if you don't numb it, escape it, or distract yourself, something powerful happens. You harden, not emotionally numb, mentally unbreakable, and once that happens, setbacks lose their power. Failure becomes feedback. Pressure becomes fuel. Silence becomes focus. The final lock, standards over feelings. This is the final key. People who fall back live by feelings. People who stay elite live by standards. Feelings change. Standards don't. You don't work when you feel like it. You work because that's the standard. You don't stay disciplined because you're motivated. You stay disciplined because anything else feels wrong. This is identity lock. When breaking your word to yourself feels worse than the work itself. When skipping feels heavier than showing up. That's when relapse dies. That's when momentum becomes permanent. Here's the final truth. Your dream life becomes inevitable the moment you stop seeing it as a goal and start seeing it as who you are. Not something you chase, something you protect. Not something you hope for, something you enforce. You don't need belief anymore. You don't need hype anymore. You don't need motivation anymore. You have standards. You have systems. You have identity. And identity doesn't break. Most people will watch this and feel inspired for a moment. Then they'll go back to comfort, but a few will feel exposed, uncomfortable, called out. Those are the ones who change. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Your dream life isn't waiting for you. It's watching to see if you're finally serious. And if you are, it's not a matter of if anymore. It's only a matter of when.